So, yeah, I guess, and I wasn't one of the biggest players. So, yeah, I think one had to find a way to try and wouldn't say outsmart, but to try and win the match. I just think we're very fortunate here with this group of players, and maybe we filter them to the kind of personalities that's open for to try things at test match level. And then
Some wise words from the man himself, Rossi Erasmus, to start today's video. Welcome, Trekamol. Welcome back, everyone, to my channel here. Really do continue to appreciate you guys' support, feedback, everything that you guys give me in the comment section on here. This is still fun. Like I said, this is just a guy that likes talking about rugby, especially the Springboks. So if you like what you're hearing, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit the notification icon for every time that I post some videos. So it is a Monday here in Texas. I do have the day off with DHL. And I thought, man, we had 7 debutants over the last 4 games, technically 3. Over 190 points scored for the Springboks. Absolutely great way to start off the calendar year 2025 for the number 1 ranked team and back-to-back reigning World Cup champions. And I thought, hey, I've been having chats with a lot of you privately about some of these debutants, what I thought, and I thought here would be a great chance to go through some of those all those 7 debutants that we had, give them a little bit of a letter grading as if we were still in school. You guys let me know in the comment section if you disagree or agree with any of my ratings with these guys. Maybe add some information maybe that I don't know, but we will go ahead and kick this off properly here. Let's go ahead and add the image here of the first debutant that we're going to discuss today on this video. As I go into my folder here, find the proper one, and we will start it off properly here. Vincent Shituka, the Shark, born in Congo, I think the Democratic Republic of Congo, but did grow up, did his schooling in South Africa. Got his debut against the Baba, scoring 2 tries, but we can't really count that as a test, unfortunately. Then getting the full 80 versus Italy in that first match, where that second half we absolutely fell off the rails, and I think we don't really need to discuss that much more. But my rating, 2 tries. He had a try disallowed in that Italy game. And I have gone ahead, and this is what my rating is for young Mr. Shituka. He gets a B from the Fairweather Rugby fan. Just not a lot. Obviously, that first test against Italy, that second half, we really fell apart in that second half, and it was defensively. And what is Mr. Shituka? A flanker. So I'm giving him a B. It gives him some time to improve. I'd like to see how he looks potentially against Australia. Let's give him some better tiered competition, because obviously Italy is not at the top of the rungs. I don't necessarily think Australia is either, but I think they're better than Italy. And let's give Mr. Shituka some proper tests. So I do want to see him on this 36-man squad for the Rugby Championship. Now, next up, another gentleman that we got to see a debut from this year, and this was one of my guys that I had been eagerly anticipating, and that would be still not really good at this first name, but Labakanye. We all know him. If you're a Lions fan, we've known this big boy the whole time he's played for the Lions. Interestingly enough, I don't know if you guys remember a few years back, they were playing in the URC against a Welsh team, and there was this guy that just dirty tackled the shit out of him right at the knees, like went straight for the knees. That gentleman was the name of Ben Fry. Ben Fry ended his career with the Dallas Jackals here in Major League Rugby. Yeah. So it's interesting to see where Ben Fry went. Potentially he was going to be a Welsh international, but he got in some red card trouble. And then you look at Labu Kanye. Now, the whole background behind all of this, he had some weight issues. Dan brought him in, took him to his farm. There was the photos that we all saw of them working on the farm. He shed about 18, I think they said 18 or 19 kgs. And I was absolutely stoked. He is the biggest front row player the Springboks have ever played. We did get to see him against the Barbarians a bit. We did see him for the last 20 minutes or so against Italy, where our scrummaging was great. I am actually this might be some people, but I'm gonna I rate the guy high, man. I gave him a little bit better of a score than Shatuka. And I guess the main reason being is that, look, we're Franz Malherba will probably not make it to the next World Cup. Trevor Nakani is done. Steven Kitsoff is retired due to injury. We do have a hole. Now, is he that same size? Not necessarily, but like I think with his size, his body, he reminds me of the Springbok version of Ben Tomafina. Now, I shouldn't have to tell you guys about Ben Tomafina, but if you don't know who I'm talking about, that Tongan prop. We all remember him in the pool game at the 2023 Rugby World Cup. That Tongan prop that like you needed three guys to stop him. That could be Labakanye. Definitely 100% Dr. Rassi. This man needs time in the Rugby Championship. I think you put him on a front row opposite Oxenche with Malcolm Marks, or God forbid you put him out there with Bongi Manambi and Oxenche. There isn't going to be a front row on the planet that can keep up. There's just way too much weight on that front row. And he's also surprisingly mobile for a guy his size. He does know how to move. His legs do move. Is he Dan Sheehan mobile? Is he Malcolm Marks mobile? Probably not so much. But I give him a B plus. I was very, very impressed, obviously in the Babas game, but definitely with Italy. He did very well. I think he blends in perfectly well with that front row. And I definitely see the future with Labukanye. Like, I see a big future with him, and I'm not just talking about his big belly. I definitely see a bright future for this young man. Moving on, we have come to a gentleman who I don't feel like we really got enough to really properly gauge this young man, but I know my boy Josh McDonald, all the way over there in Durban in the KZN, he was speaking highly. Ethan Hooker, the Sharks center winger. Obviously a young man, 22 years of age, so it's kind of becoming like one of those things. It's like, look, we've got young guys that can play center and wing, obviously Kurt Lee, Kanan Moody. It's almost like, do we have the time to develop him? Well, at 22, he's got plenty of time. Excuse me. Yeah, at 22, he's got plenty of time to develop. Do I think that's future Springbok right there? Unfortunately, I didn't get enough to sit here and say, hey, is this guy? Because we really just didn't see him very much. So he has a question mark as a grading. I just don't think we got enough of him. He only played 25 minutes versus Italy, and there just wasn't enough time for him to shine. We need more time. So his grade as of right now is inconclusive. It's a question mark. And that is the only one on this list where I have a question mark grade. Moving on. Well, we had hoped to see this young man get his first cap alongside his brother, but then Jasper had to go. And once again, it's still a greatly debated thing. Did he actually headbutt that guy? And that was Cobus Visa. He got 25 minutes versus Italy at the lock position, and then he got, he got 45 minutes versus Georgia at the number 8. Now, that was a hotly debated thing too as well. Why are we playing a lock at number 8? Now, as much as I've been one of those guys I've never bought into the Evan Roos vibe, like the hype. I thought he played very, very well in that second half against Italy. Why did we not start him at 8? What do we need to have Evan Roos get another shot against a premier team? Obviously, Georgia wasn't a premier team, but I would have loved to have seen Evan get a start. Did Cobus do well in the game against Georgia? He didn't really stand out. He did his job. I've had some people get in comment sections and say, what game were you watching? He was amazing. He didn't really stand out. But then we had so many other things going on that game. Obviously, Eben struggled. Sia struggled at times. He didn't really stand out. But in the game against Italy at lock, I felt like he did his job. Obviously, no points scored in the second half. So we will give Mr. Cobus Visa some room to improve at B. I'd like to see him. I don't know if I take him on this 36-man squad for the Rugby Championship, Maybe end of the year tour, maybe we'll take another look at him. But as of right now, he is getting the B grade from the Fairweather Rugby fan. Now, last and but certainly not least, we had three gentlemen make debut this last weekend versus Georgia. And I'm not even going to hide the grading that I decided to go on this, but that would be Neithling Fuche, Marnus van der Merwe, and Bowen Venter. Obviously, van der Merwe with 2 tries and Venter with the try both in the first half. All three got 45 minutes versus Georgia. Neithling Fuche, the oldest of the three of them, at 32 years old, and then van der Merwe and Venter both being 28. Now, I know in some situations that would be kind of old. Oh, those guys might be a bit past what they can do, but then I look over and I realize, yeah, that guy wasn't no spring chicken either. I think he was 36 or 37 when he got his first cap. So I think age, as far as age goes, I don't think age can really determine a guy's ability at this, especially for the Springboks when we do have a lot of older guys on the roster. But of these three gentlemen, now look, Georgia, obviously not a high-end talent, not a high-end team. I mean, a good Tier 2 team. They definitely kept it entertaining. And a team notoriously known for their scrummaging ability. These three gentlemen definitely held their own. The 2 tries off of lineouts, it's what we expect from a hooker. It's what we expect from our front row. They did great at scrum time. They all got 45 minutes versus Georgia, like I said. And I give these three gentlemen an A-. Do I want to see any of these guys go on the Rugby Championship Tour? I might take Marnus van der Merwe as a third option at hooker. Obviously, fourth option at hooker. We've got Malcolm Marks, Bongi Manombi, Jan Hendrik Vessels, and then Marnus van der Merwe being the third option. I don't know whether I would take Venter or Fuche. I wouldn't take both of them, but I would take one of them. Maybe on a 36-man squad for the Rugby Championship. These three guys, I hope we get to see them some more. Maybe against Wales later in the year. If they do take them, I'd like to see them maybe against Australia, maybe against Argentina. I think these guys can hold their own very, very well. Obviously, we got the only first taste of them. It kind of reminds me of like Edville van der Merwe last year. We got a taste of him against Portugal. And then we got another taste of him this year, and it's kind of like, okay, he's earned his way into the rotation. Not to put out somebody like Makazole Mampipi, but these guys, he's getting up there in years, and it might be time to say, hey, maybe it's time to move on. So you guys let me know what you think in the comment section, man. I gave grades through all these guys. Obviously, Shatuka with the B, Labakanya with the B+, Ethan Hooker with the question mark, Kobus Visa with a B, and then A- for the 3 debutants that we had this last weekend on the front row. Obviously, can't go without saying congratulations to the Baby Boks, the Junior Boks, whatever you want to call them, U20 champions over New Zealand in a game to me that kind of mirrored the 2023 Rugby World Cup final. Discipline is what costs the Baby All Blacks, the Junior All Blacks, and this one. Are we entering the golden era of South African rugby? Sevens are champions, U20s are champions, number 1 team in the world, reigning rugby championship champions, Springboks. Maybe. The Lady Boks obviously struggling against the number 2 ranked Canada. But I think, maybe we are. Maybe we are entering a golden age. Maybe this is our time. I mean, I've been saying our time is now for a while now, and it's looking like our time right now. If you're a South African rugby fan, these are nice days. These are good times, man. We've been winning, but we still got a lot more games to play this year. We've got a lot more to prove, not just to us as fans, but to the rugby world that the Springboks are here and they're here to stay. I always end the conversation with a friend of mine, Shannon Parle. Big shout out to you, brother. If you were to ask take a look at the team and ask this question: if the World Cup was next week, would we win? I think so. If the World Cup was next week, the Springboks would probably win. And you ask yourself that every week after a game. You ask yourself, if the World Cup was next week, would we win it? And I have to say, yeah, I think we would. I think we'd definitely be the odds-on favorite. I do see some teams making some moves and that kind of thing, but you couldn't right now. You couldn't say Australia could. No, Australia would not win it. So you have to ask yourself that every week at the end of a game: would we win the World Cup if it was next week? And I think right now, yeah, the Springboks would. So are we entering that era where we can say that every week? Well, it's starting to feel like that. But you cannot take these four tests for what you have to take them for what they were. The Barbarians, yes, they had a lot of caps, but it was a largely just thrown together team in 2 weeks. Italy is a team that has struggled in the Six Nations since they joined it 25 years ago, and it was a tier 2 Georgia side. Grant, we have racked up the points, we have put it up, and if this was us playing experimental play around rugby, yeah, we're not looking too bad. You look at the flip side of the coin over in New Zealand, a BC French squad, and the All Blacks had to work. That second test, not so much. This most recent test, they were down against a BC French squad. Now, it was also a arguably B All Blacks squad, but they had to put in work to get those 3 games winning. I don't really feel like we've ever been in lieu of losing, despite what people think of that first Italian test in the second half. We were never going to lose that game. We just should have won by a lot more than we did. Our defense fell apart in the second half, but we were never in league of losing that game. The All Blacks were in league of losing 2 of those 3 matches against not even a top tier side. You could say, well, that wasn't arguably, it was Italy nonetheless. They're not a top tier team. They are ranked where they're supposed to be ranked, honestly. So do we take that? We take that for what it is. We do have the Rugby Championship coming up. Now we can gauge the team on these matches. We can gauge the team against an Australia, against an All Blacks, against a Pumas. That's, to me, where we gauge the team. And then obviously later in the year when we get to play France and Ireland, we can gauge the team in those games. So that's all for this episode, guys. Once again, thank you guys for your continued support of this channel. I appreciate all of you and your continued support. And we'll talk again real soon. Cheers, guys.